Howdy! Welcome to Aspire Mountain Academy. I'm Professor Curtis, your instructor for this course in Introductory Statistics. In less than 10 minutes, this video describes the concept of the power of the hypothesis test. Let's get started. So, mathematically, the definition for power of a hypothesis test is simply the probability of rejecting a false null hypothesis, which is going to be equal to 1 minus beta. So, as we've seen before, we've got two different distributions, and one represents the null hypothesis, the other represents the alternative. Or we could have what's listed here as two different sample distributions. Of course, where they intersect, they're going to form two different tails. And of course, here in this first tail here that you see in the blue is your alpha. So this tail here is going to be beta, which means this area under this curve here is the power of your hypothesis test, 1 minus beta. Now, you're not going to really have to know much more than this to work any of your assignments, because they can't really ask you more than just the definition. And that's because, the value of the power of the hypothesis test is going to depend on the significance level alpha and the value of the population parameter used in the hypothesis test. This is something that's used when you're considering sample size during the design of an experiment. And, this course is just an introduction to statistics, and so you're not really going to get much into experimental design. That's a higher level statistics course, and so there's not really much you can do with power of hypothesis test here, except understand the definition. Power of hypothesis test, the probability 1 minus beta of rejecting a false null hypothesis. There are some common choices, though, for those who are designing experiments for statistical analyses. The 5% was, as we've seen, a very common choice for the significance level alpha. So a power of 80% is pretty common, and some statisticians argue that the minimum that you select should be 85 or 90%. But, that's a controversy. I guess I put that in quotation marks, controversy within the statistical community. It doesn't need to really bother most of us because, as I said, this is just an introductory course. So really all you need to know out of this is just the definition. Okay. If you are designing an experiment, the goal of having a power value of at least 80% can often be used to determine the minimum required sample size. But we've got other ways of determining sample size that we've already seen by looking at confidence intervals. Those same sample size requirements are going to be in effect when we're looking at hypothesis testing. So yeah, again, there's not much we're going to do with the power of a hypothesis test except memorize the definition. That's all we can really do with it. And that brings us to the end of this mini lecture. I hope you found it helpful. You can find more mini lectures for this and other courses at AspireMountainAcademy.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.